2019 has been a very great year for film. There have been some magnificent things that have come out in theaters, things that have been celebrated, things that were loved by audiences, things that divided some audiences, things that divided some critics, but overall, they resulted in some of the most memorable and enthralling experiences of the year. And now it's time to celebrate all those things in the best movies of the year list. Now, originally, I was going to do a top 10, like I usually do, but I thought this year there have been so many amazing films that they all deserve to be celebrated. And which is why I'm going to be doing top 20. I'm going to speed through it, obviously, because I can't spend like 5 minutes talking about each movie, or even 2 minutes, like maybe like a minute, minute and a half tops if I have to. But I'm going to try and do this as fast as possible, because otherwise I'd be here for about 45 minutes to an hour, and you guys don't want that much time on a YouTube video, especially when it's recounting the best movies of the year. There are some movies that unfortunately did not make the cut, such as John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum, How to Train Your Dragon The Hidden World, Shazam, Spider-Man Far From Home, The Farewell, Queen and Slim, A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. Unfortunately, I did not see Little Women because I was out of town. It's released back in New York. I'm not in New York right now, so I'm gonna have to wait to watch that when I get back, and then I'll do a review of it accordingly. It'll be a late one though, I apologize for that in advance. So without further ado, let's go into the top 20 best films of 2019, starting with number 20. At number 20, Official Secrets. I saw this pretty late in the game. I saw this actually about a week ago. I was on the flight, and so I decided to watch some films which I hadn't seen yet, and this was one of those. And I absolutely loved this film. Keira Knightley was terrific in this movie. Gavin Hood's direction was fantastic. It was a very tense film. It was very enthralling to watch. It is based on a true story, and just the way they went about how this leak happened and the contents of that leak was mesmerizing. I thought this movie was wonderful. I can't wait to see it again, and I highly recommend checking it out if you haven't been able to as of yet. Number 19. Number 19, Ad Astra. This was a film that divided a lot of audiences, and I understand why. It's not a conventional science fiction film. It's a film that does do things which are different from other films. It's very tedious at times. It can be a little slow. But for me, I was consistently amazed by this film. This was one of my favorite science fiction movies of the year. I love Brad Pitt's performance. The score by Max Richter was one of my favorites of the year. The Heart of Darkness stuff is something that I was a massive fan of, because I said this in my review. I'm a big enthusiast of the novel itself, and the allusions that they made between the book and the movie were honestly amazing, and I thought that they were some of the best moments of the entire film. Number 18. At number 18, Booksmart. Probably would have been my favorite comedy of the year had it not been for another movie which is also on this list. Olivia Wilde is someone who I really like as an actress. As a director, I think she's wonderful. I think she's done an amazing job with this movie, thanks to the two lead performances, Caitlin Dever and Beanie Feldstein, and I cannot wait to see what else she does. This was a very funny, entertaining movie. Granted, it is kind of like a gender-switched Superbad, but okay, it worked. It worked. Also, Billie Lourd should have gotten a Golden Globe Supporting Actress Comedy nomination. I'm just saying. Number 17. At number 17, Dr. Sleep. This was a fantastic sequel to The Shining in the movie sense. It should be noted that this is a sequel to the film, not the Stephen King novel. And so there's a lot of stuff from that movie which is in this film. King was not a fan of the movie, and probably won't be a fan of this one too, because this one does follow that. But this was still an enthralling film. Ewan McGregor was terrific. Mike Flanagan's direction was outstanding. The performances, especially Kylie Curran as this girl who also has The Shining, wonderful. I thought she was one of the best parts of the entire film. The cinematography, the score, and when it finally gets to the nostalgic bits in the third act, it delivered perfectly. Also, Rebecca Ferguson as a villain was amazing. Number 16. At number 16, Waves. What's Waves? You never saw this movie. Did anyone actually see this film? Because if you did, great. We can talk more about it. If you didn't, I highly recommend checking it out after this top 10, 20 list is over. Waves was a sonic experience unlike most movies. This is a film that needs to be seen on a big screen with a beautiful sound system. That's a very important factor of this film, and it delivered on that on all cylinders. Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross's score, phenomenal. The performances, phenomenal. Trey Edward Schultz did an amazing job, and please do check this movie out if you haven't checked it out yet. Number 15. At number 15, Us. It says a lot about the power 2019 cinema had that my first 10 out of 10 of the year is number 15 on my list. Not that I'm saying this movie is not as good as it was the first time. It's still just as good. But at the same time, there were some other things that came out. Let it be known, though, that this does have some of the best stuff of any film this year. Particularly Lupita Nyong'o, who honestly should be up for a Best Actress and should win it. You already did dirty with Toni Collette with Hereditary. Honestly, do not make the same mistake, Academy. I think that she is absolutely deserving of a nomination and maybe a win. Easily the Best Actress performance of the year. Also, Jordan Peele's direction was masterful. I cannot wait to see what he does next after this. He's honestly one of the best directors we have today, and as a horror director, he continues to amaze me with every single film. Number 14. At number 14, Jojo Rabbit. I think people wanted this to be higher because a lot of people love this movie. I also love this movie, but it's not quite up there. But that doesn't change the fact that all these movies deserve to be on the equal level of love as the next one. And Jojo Rabbit is no exception. This was one of the most sweet, beautiful, wonderful movies I've seen all year. One of the funniest movies. It is actually my favorite comedy of the year. I said if it wasn't for this movie, then Booksmart would be number one. But not anymore. This film was fantastic. Yes, it's definitely got some stuff in there which might be upsetting for some people, as some critics have pointed out. Personally, though, I had a blast with this movie, and I have seen it more and more ever since it came out, and I've liked it more with each viewing, which is why it's risen up in my ranks. And I can't wait to see it again. Number 13. At number 13, Marriage Story. This was a film that I also, on repeat viewing, liked a lot more than my first viewing, which I already loved. This was a really devastating, funny movie, and it had some of the best performances of the year from Scarlett Johansson and Adam Driver and Laura Dern, who were all magnificent. This is a beautifully directed film. Noah Baumbach knocked it out of the park with the writing and the directing. It has some of the best moments of the year, particularly the argument scene halfway into the film. It was magnificently executed. Please do see this movie if you haven't seen it yet. It is really some of the best acting of the year. It really deserves to be seen to be believed. Number 12. At number 12, Ford vs. Ferrari, or Ford v Ferrari. This was another amazing movie, and one of the fastest movies I've ever seen too. At clocking in at 2 hours and 33 minutes, it honestly felt like 20 minutes. I didn't even know the movie was done. It just started rolling the credits, and I was like, wait, we were here for almost 3 hours? That's insane. That's how fast this movie is, and it was wonderfully accomplished by James Mangold, magnificently acted, I use that word a lot in this video, by Matt Damon and Christian Bale, and yeah, some of the best sequences of the year, Marco Beltrami's amazing score, and definitely deserves to be on this list. Number 11. At number 11, Toy Story 4. Why? Because I cried in this movie. The ending got me. This one broke me in a lot of different places, and it was a nice little epilogue to Toy Story 3. I thought it was a beautiful film. And yes, it does really get at you in the very ending when that scene happens. Oh man. I bawled for like 10 minutes after that was over. Nonetheless, it is also a beautifully animated film. It is wonderfully voice acted. It has another euphoric score from Randy Newman, a really great new song, and Forky. Forky. How can you not love Forky? That's it. Number 10. At number 10, Uncut Gems. I understand a lot of people are not enjoying this movie. There seems to be some divided with audiences at the moment, especially on Rotten Tomatoes. I love this film. This was a frantic movie. I don't think I breathed one time in this entire film. This was a knockout movie. I think the Softies have done a better job here than they did at Good Time, which was also a film I really loved. And Adam Sandler gives honestly the best performance of his career, in my opinion. This was a wonderfully directed film. The score also by Daniel Lopatin, fantastic. Definitely get that. I'm honestly upset it's not up for Oscar consideration. Let's... Number 9. At number 9, The Lighthouse. This was a trancing movie. If you've seen it, you know what I mean by that exact word. I've never been more mesmerized in a film before. This one just grabs you and doesn't let go. Just the way the surrounding is, just the way it's shot, that old-fashioned storytelling, the performances from Robert Pattinson, Willem Dafoe, who are both magnificent in this, the direction. All of this is just a perfect movie. This movie is amazing, and it needs to be seen by pretty much everybody that I can think of. Please do see it if you've not seen it yet. Number 8. At number 8, Portrait of a Lady on Fire. I thought this was going to be a decent film. Going in, I thought, okay, you know what? It'll probably be nice. I walked out stunned. This was a masterpiece in my opinion, and I said this in my original review. This movie was amazing. I cannot wait to talk more about this film in the future, and I did with a lot of people, because a lot of other people I know saw it afterwards, and they all loved it just as much, because, well, word of mouth. Someone's gotta do it, and I'm glad I did it. This was a wonderful movie. The performances from Naomi Merlant and Adele Hanel, I looked up the names, brilliant. Celine Sciamma's direction was fantastic, and yes, please do see this movie as soon as possible. Number 7. At number 7, Knives Out. I love this movie because of just how fun a whodunit could be. And Rian Johnson honestly did a brilliant job with this. I love the fact that he incorporated a lot of old school filmmaking with some of the new stuff that's going on here, especially with some of the case solving and the dialogue and the surroundings. And this was honestly a really terrific film. I have recommended it since to a lot of people. I've seen it multiple times and I love it each and every time I've seen it. And it just gets better and better with every viewing. It has to be seen to be believed. Please do check it out if you haven't seen it yet. Number 6. At number 6, Parasite. Wow, this was a hell of a film too. Honestly, every film on this list is on the same level of amazing, from 1 to 10. And so the rankings honestly are not even mattering after this point, but Parasite was amazing. I loved this film. I was quickly able to grab like a first day showing of this because I wanted to see it the moment it came out in theaters. There was no screening, or maybe there was, I didn't go for it. But the response still, like, I still loved this movie. This was funny, this had an amazing counter of a story, especially in the second half, which I'm not even gonna attempt to spoil. It was wonderfully acted, Bong Joon-ho, magnificent direction from you, and this movie needs to be seen by everybody. Please see this movie. This movie, support this movie as much as possible. Number 5. At number 5, Joker. Now, I get it, a lot of people were not a fan of this movie, and I understand that entirely, it's alright. But as a massive Joker fan, and as someone who has grown up on the character, I think this film delivered. I think Joaquin Phoenix gave the best actor performance of the year as Arthur Fleck. I think it has the best score of the year from Hildur Guðnadóttir. I think the cinematography was amazing. I thought Todd Phillips did a great job with the direction. It's a nice departure from the usual, like, you know, hangover comedy stuff that he did. And I think that this film, honestly, was a hell of a marker. Number 4. At number 4, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Again, a controversial pick because a lot of people did not enjoy how slow it was. There was a lot of dialogue and not a lot of Tarantino action and awesomeness that you usually expect from a film directed by him. That's mostly reserved towards the tail end of the movie. Nonetheless, I thought this was a fantastic film. I loved just going around 1969 Los Angeles. There was just something so almost simulator-like about it. There's actually a joke, like half the movie is a driving simulator with Brad Pitt, and honestly, I was fine with that. It was nice to just go around and live in that era for a while, and it was a nice love letter to things. Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt were terrific. Tarantino once again knocked it out with the soundtrack. And yeah, it's among my favorite movies of the year, and it remains to be. Number 3. At number 3, you knew this was gonna be there. You knew this was gonna be there, right? I mean, come on, you knew that. Avengers Endgame. You knew it was gonna be there. I mean, come on. I love this film. You know I love this film. I gushed about it in my review. This was one of the films that took me back to being a kid. And I sometimes let that kid part of me make some decisions. This is one of them. This is in my top 3 movies of the year. I loved it. I thought it was awesome. It took me back to being a kid, reading comics, which I still do. But yeah, there is something really enthralling about this film. And it delivered, in my opinion, on everything that I wanted it to do from Avengers Infinity War. And that is why it ranks so high up in my list of films of 2019. Number 2. At number 2, 1917. I don't think we'll probably get a better World War I movie than this. I mean, this is one of the best war movies ever made. The single shot stuff from Roger Deakins, the score by Thomas Newman, the 2 lead performances, these 2 soldiers risking their lives to get across the 1,600 men and tell them to stop from going into battle, the brilliant direction from Sam Mendes. Everything in this film is honestly worth commending. This was a terrific movie. And again, it needs to be seen on a big screen. Like, you cannot see this on a small screen and enjoy it. It needs to be on like a gigantic screen. And if you can't see it in a theater right now, I'm really sorry. Just when you finally get a chance to see it on like home media or digital or whatever, like make sure 1, it's 4K, and 2, it's a big ass TV. Like, don't watch it any other way. Alright, so number 1. Any guesses? I mean, if you're going through my review catalog, you probably already know what number 1 is now. And, you know, that's fine. So without further ado, number 1. My number 1 movie is The Irishman. Why is it The Irishman? Because as complex crime dramas go, I think this one honestly took the cake. I'm a fan of the genre. I like when stories like this are explored. And I like it even more when stories like this are explored to their fullest extent. And I think Scorsese, after making films like Goodfellas and now this, I think he cracked it. I think this was easily one of the best things that he's made. And might be my favorite Scorsese movie just on the vision and scale that he had for it. And I think this is a brilliant film. I thought the performances were all amazing, from De Niro, Pesci, Pacino. And so, for all those reasons, for Scorsese's direction, the magnificent editing by Thelma Schoonmaker, the music, the acting, all of it, this movie deserves to be on the top of my list. And my personal list. I understand it may not be everybody's number 1, and that's fine. But, yeah, it made mine, so, yep. Guys, thank you very much for watching. This was one hell of a 2019. It was wonderful spending it with all of you people. Had some great reviews. There were some great viewings. I'm so glad. I'm so humbled by the people who constantly come to my channel. It means a lot. And please do keep coming as we enter a new decade now. Can't wait to see what this has next in store for me, for everybody else on YouTube. Should I do a worst list? I'm thinking. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna do that this year. I saw Variety's top 10 worst list. That was the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. Left a bad taste in my mouth. I don't think I'm actually gonna do one. Thought it was an insult. So, yeah. I mean, if you want to know my worst film of the year, there you go. That's my worst film of the year. This is... Yep. Thank you very much as always, guys, and I'll see you guys at the movies, and Happy New Year.